Our Southern African women are bold, and I love them for their boldness. They are bold. It is not your fault that you're a single mother, Abby. You're a single mother not because you want to, but because life happened. There are people who are single mothers with 2 children, with 3 kids, because, let's say, they were in an abusive marriage. You don't expect them to stay. How is that their fault? How is that the reason why this single mother is not supposed to be with her children after moving to the UK? I know doctors from Southern Africa and other African countries whose children's visas have been denied one way or the other because of this whole immigration issues and how to prove that you have sole responsibility for the kids. How is it their fault that they are single mothers? If you've been on this channel for a while, you know I have spoken about this issue at length in 2 videos. I have interviewed mothers who went through hell to bring their children to join them in the UK just because they are single mothers. How many times was it rejected?
3 times. So as they say, 3rd time is the charm after all.
So tell me, the first refusal, what did they write?
All right, so I will send you a screenshot of that refusal letter as well.
So somebody will ask, why was Rashida's child visa denied? The UK authorities or the UK Home Office has made it extremely tough for single mothers to navigate this process and bring their children to join them in the UK. This is not fair. This is tough. See, I know a lady from Jamaica who I used to work with personally, who came to the UK, lived here for over a year. When it was time to come for her children, they approved the visa of 1 child and they left the other. Why? Because they said she has to prove that she has sole responsibility for the child. She got the child's father to write, because at this point the eldest child had a different father and she had to find the eldest child. Some of them didn't even know where the men are. She had to find the father for the father to write a letter to state that she, the woman, or she, the mother, has sole responsibility, and yet the child's visa was denied. She ended up packing her bags and going back to the Caribbean. She left. And if you guys remember very well, it was around that time that I came to write on my community timeline that if you have been successful in bringing children from a previous marriage to the UK, please reach out to me because I needed help for this woman. Unfortunately, they didn't grant her, so she had to go back. Now she's back in the Caribbean. I read of a story of a Zimbabwean doctor, a lady doctor, who came to the UK helping the UK health sector, working for the NHS, and she applied for her children from a previous marriage, and they said she's not able to prove. She submitted this document, they said it's not enough. They submitted this document, they said it's not enough. So they didn't grant her children visas to come and join her as dependents in the UK. How is it her fault that she's a single parent? And what you are doing now, the sad part is they really don't understand that situation, and this breaks my heart anytime I talk about it. It's heartbreaking because, guys, listen to this. When you're working for the NHS or when you're working for a company in the UK, they will not give you 3 months annual leave. They are giving you 5 weeks maximum, and that 5 weeks they will tell you you can only apply for 2 weeks in summer, 1 week in spring, 1 week in World War, 1 week in World War. There are rules to this. So you're not granting my children visas? Okay, fine. I need the money. I want to work here, so I'll do. Now you're granting me 2 weeks in a year to go and visit my children. Do you even care how my children are surviving without me back home? How sure am I that the person I have entrusted to take care of my children is doing a good job? This is why I'm happy for what the women of Zimbabwe community are doing and the Action for South Africa women community are doing. Guys, if you want to know more, stay tuned. Stop that. So like I was saying, the UK immigration system has recently come under scrutiny for its treatment of migrant single mothers, particularly those working in the healthcare sector. So a report by Women of Zimbabwe and Action for South Africa, I don't know if I'm saying it right, okay, highlights the systemic challenges these women face, especially concerning the sole responsibility rule that affects their ability to bring their children. Because this sole responsibility rule is, it has affected the ability to bring their children to the UK. And this issue is not only pertinent to migrants from South Africa, but also affects those from Asia and Caribbean and other parts of Africa, I must say. I personally know 3 people that have struggled to prove this to be able to bring their children to the UK. That is not fair. Talk about even if you want to go and visit your family regularly, aside the fact that it's only 2 weeks annually they're given to you at the time, think of the travel cost. Now it costs about £1,000 to travel to Ghana, and Ghana is just 6-hour flight from London. So you want me? God. Honestly, they need to really look at it well. So, thousands of single mothers who arrived in the UK before March 11, 2024 on the health and care worker visas have been denied visas for their children. This is despite being entitled to bring their children as their dependents. But restrictive immigration policies have led to prolonged family separations, which is unhealthy for the mothers, is unhealthy for the children, and can lead to future consequences, in my opinion. The Home Office has systematically denied visas, citing the sole responsibility rule, which requires proof that the parent in the UK is the sole caregiver, a condition that has become very difficult to prove for a lot of people because of the countries that they are from. So these are the key issues that have been identified. So the sole responsibility rule. So this rule basically demands that single parents have to prove that they have sole custody and that the other parent is not involved in the child's upbringing. This is very challenging, especially when, our cultural norms differ from those in the UK. And they also identify that the application of the rules can be inconsistent. Some applications are denied despite having similar evidence to those that are approved. So for instance, I think in the reports they said there was one single mother who was denied, visa of her children because she said she has no idea of where the husband is or the children's father is. She has no idea where they are, but she has not been in their lives for a while, right? So to be difficult. And then later when she reapplied, I think they said she did find the guy to write a letter to state that I've not been in there bringing up the children, me and their mother was taking care of them. I have no idea. I have no business with them. And then later they denied her again the second time after having that letter from the man stating that if you claim you do not have access to him, how come he's been able to write this letter? Meanwhile, somebody else submitted a letter from the man and it was approved. So it's like they're applying their own rules inconsistently. It's like now you don't even know what to do. And if you watch my interview with the beautiful Jamaican lady, I'll link the video to this video, you will exactly know what I'm talking about. I think she had to apply about 3 or 4 times before her son was allowed to come to the UK. She went through hell. So I'm very happy that you also have tried. You tried a couple of times and it failed. How many times was it rejected?
3 times. So as they say, third time is the charm after all.
Talk about all the money she wasted. It's sad. It really is sad. So in the reports, there was also cultural misunderstanding. So they realized that the Home Office lack of cultural literacy. They have no idea what's happening in other countries, okay? So it often results in unfair visa rejections. For instance, cultural practices such as children taking their father's surname or their fathers attending custody hearings are misinterpreted as evidence of paternal involvement. So the Home Office can deny you, saying that if you claim that you have no idea who the father is or the father has never been in their lives, how come they are bearing the father's surname? That means the father is still in their life. You're trying to. So what they are trying to do, I understand, they're trying to prevent one parent from sort of like stealing the kids from the other parents and bringing them to the UK. They don't want that because children are made by 2 different people, not just by the mother. So they can tell you that if you claim the father is not in their lives, where's the death certificate? If you provide a death certificate, fine. But if your father is alive and then the children have the father's surname, how come you're saying that the father has never been involved? Prove it to us. They don't understand that in Africa, they'll give you the surname regardless. Most African countries, the mothers will still give the children the father's surname regardless of them being in their lives or him being in their lives financially or not. And they are misinterpreting this. They are saying that if the person was not in your life or is not in the children's life, how come he attended the custody hearing? People don't understand our situation. They lack that cultural understanding. And another thing that these bold South African and Zimbabwean women raised in their report is the emotional and financial strain. The separation from their children places an emotional burden on mothers. It's mothers, compounded by the financial strain of repeated visa and applications and legal advice. Some of them would take immigration lawyers and pay so much money. So these are the proposed solutions, guys. So the reports by the Women of Zimbabwe and then the South African Women Association, they offers several recommendations to address these issues and create a more suitable immigration process. And they are stating that 1, the Home Office should review their guidance. They need an urgent review of the guidance for the health and social care workers who arrived before March 11, 2024. They said a review will be very necessary because they need to reassess over 500 refused or pending child visa applications on compelling and compassionate grounds. Over 500 people have had their children's visa denied. How? Meanwhile, it's their right. And then they need to do consistent application of the rules. The Home Office should adopt a fair and consistent process, accepting consent orders from local court. They should accept a local court from Ghana's, consent order and use that as basis to grant my children the visa. And clarify ambiguous terms like sole responsibility. And when you go and interpret it your own way, they'll say it's not like that. And then there should be improved communication. The tone of refusal letters should be improved because sometimes they can be very heartbreaking. And evidence submission deadline should be extended from that their 10 working days to at least 15 working days to allow people to be able to gather more. Because when you are reapplying, they give you just like a few days to do everything, which is not real, And then they should establish appeals process and tracking child visa refusals to provide transparency and accountability. The case workers should be trained to be culturally sensitive. They should consult experienced diasporans, people and advisors and women to develop culturally formed policies, and enhance staff training. And also there should be better transparency around visa costs, scam warnings, and the rights of migrants and all of that. And the sad part is we are here coming to help the health sector of our country, and our children are suffering mentally because they are not seeing us. That is challenging. The challenges faced by migrant single mothers in the UK highlights systemic failings in the immigration system. So there needs to be a more humane and a more fair approach to immigration policies, and they need to recognize the rights to family life for migrant workers and their children. They need to implement the recommended changes. The UK can foster a more and respectful relationship with migrant communities. So guys, if you know anybody, if you know anyone, now that this has been brought to light, if you know any single mother, any single father even, who has been affected by these issues, it is very important to report them through the appropriate channels. So you have to visit the Home Office website. I'll leave a link for more information on how to report issues and how to seek assistance. And if you also want a link to join this Women of Zimbabwe and South Africa, whatever, your voice can also contribute to creating a fairer immigration system for all. So I'll leave links to, for you to read further about this and how you can join these associations to also let your voice be heard. I think it's about time. It is so unfair how we are being treated here. You want me to go and care for other children in the hospital, but you don't care what my child is going through in another country. You claim you are for family life, but you've given me a visa to come and help, and I'm so desperate for the money, so I'll stay here, and you've left me. And in one of the refusals, the lady says she was told in the refusal letter that she knew that she didn't want to be away from her children, yet she took the job in another country. Something like that. The tone was very appalling. The tone of the refusal letter. It's like the caseworker had an issue with her. That is sad. And this person is a doctor. How will I even get a sound mind to function when my kids are not with me? How do they want us to survive? I am not going through that, but I can feel what other people are going through. This is sad, and this must end. What are your thoughts on this? Do you know anybody who has experienced this issue? A gentleman told me initially he was denied. He said he had to make his son write a letter to the Home Office. I don't know, his young son, maybe let's say 6 or 7 years, saying that I want to be with my dad before it was granted. Can you imagine? Meanwhile, the mother has never been in their life. This was a single father. And then this gentleman says the child has been living with his family back in Ghana ever since. So why don't you want him to, give his son a better life? Why?